meeting of the Appearance Commission will now come to order. What? Oh, you.
Sorry.
Oh, we'll wait for Dan.
Oh, the little name thingy. I can get that?
We just started. Okay, we'll run that back. The February 1st meeting of the City of Raleigh Appearance Commission will now come to order. We do not have any quasi-judicial cases on the agenda for today, so there will be no quasi-judicial portion of this. To our other business, we have, let's see, you want to start with the meeting minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. January 4th, 2024 meeting minutes. Has anyone reviewed those?
Yes.
Anyone want to make a motion?
I would make a motion to approve them as written.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Other business, we can start with the legacy project update. Casey, are you going to do that one? I know that we can
yeah, I was
kind
gonna
of
say,
just
you
talk
wanna share what
casually
you-
about it, but
yeah. You wanna
I
share what
wasn't sure if you had
Jake's-
anything.
I didn't have anything specific.
Okay.
I
sounds good.
knew you had talked to Jake and had something to share, so.
Yes. So last week, Jason Dale and myself were present for a site walk on Commerce Place with the artist, Mary Carter Taub. She's out of Chapel Hill. There were several representatives from the city and transportation and what was the other one? Yeah, the paint representative. The other city, I can't remember the other city staff member.
So he was one of the workers who would repave.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, it's a good group. We walked from one end to the other. I think the major findings, I'll read from what Jake sent me. Well, maybe I won't. I think the main thing we found was that the asphalt that was supposed to be painted is really, really in bad condition. And the paint consultant said either you can repave this and we can paint it, or we can use thermoplastic. And so, and thermoplastic in places, in not all of the places. So I don't know what you all think, but it doesn't really seem very kind of budget or environmentally conscious to get some, ask transportation to repave it and then paint it and then tear it up in 2 to 5 years. Yeah, so kind of a bummer. That was like the bummer outcome. I think that the team is totally fine to kind of adjust the design. Well, there really isn't a design yet, so I think that we can pivot and still make something worthwhile. It just won't be paint everywhere.
Is it like not smooth, or is it like chunks like coming out?
It's kind of mostly on one side, the lowest side where the water washes. So the whole street is on a camber, and so the water washes across the street and then runs down the street. And where the water washes, it's just kind of crumbly. So it's mostly that area, and then like a couple other spot areas. But let's see. Anybody have any questions while I read these to make sure they're worth talking about? So the bulleted items from Jake are: they led a successful large-scale community engagement event in November with several hundred attendees and hundreds of people providing feedback in person and through an online survey about their preferences for the future of the shared street. That happened right after our Sir Walter Raleigh Awards, and we announced it there. They had like a kind of pop-up festival of sorts with food truck. They organized an artist selection committee, including representation from the commission. The committee unanimously selected Mary Carter Taub for the project, and agreement has been initiated. They're finalizing a draft Phase 1 design in collaboration with the adjacent property owners and other city staff. Conducted a site visit with Mary Cowder Taub, a potential street paint provider, staff from Planning, Transportation, and Arts, that's the one we were talking about, and they're developing an updated cost estimate for materials and labor, and confirmed financial commitments from the property owners to fund the materials. Do you remember the number that I asked, when I asked, like, the total funding they had for this phase? I think it was like 60,000?
I don't recall.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I don't
Yeah,
recall.
well, don't hold me to that. But there's quite a bit of funding outside of the 5,000 that we've committed. So what's up next is resolving some final design materials questions, and they will come back and present an updated plan and budget and artist concepts for us in March. It just didn't really make sense for them to come because not much has happened. They didn't really have much to show. So that's the legacy project update that I have for this legacy project. Certainly open to anyone talking about another legacy project, since we still have another $5,000 of funds to use on our legacy project by June.
Yep.
I have an update on the budget.
Oh, great.
So we have more money than I had estimated. So you really have like around $13,000 if you want to use it for a legacy project.
After this 5,000?
Yeah, not counting, like, already accounting for the 5,000 that you put towards the artist for Commerce Place.
And that doesn't roll over to next year, or can we ask it to roll over? All right.
All right.
Let's
So you
put our
got,
thinking
more
hats
to
on.
work with.
Yeah, we've run into this issue for the last
Always happens.
5 years. There's not a lot of time between February 1st and June 30th, just from a practical reality of if it takes us even a month, it's still really hard to do. So
Yep.
that's the needle to the thread. So
Well, let's come up with some ideas. We're all ideas people here, I think, and maybe should we set a goal to have some concrete ideas at the annual retreat? That's in March, right?
We're going to talk about that in a later agenda item. But yes, usually March.
I mean, the trick is the funds have to also be spent by then, by June.
Not spent, just allocated.
I think there's some flexibility, but my impression is strongly preferred that it's spent by then.
Yeah.
I think that
But-
accounting terms it has to be encumbered by then.
Yes,
but,
definitely has to be encumbered by then.
You missed all the good stuff.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Kyle said that.
I think just on realistic timeline, it's most realistic to try to contribute funds to something else that already might be occurring versus fund something fresh and new, just from a reality of us getting the funding to the finish line.
Yeah. Well, certainly we don't want to be like coming up with a project that requires complex contracting, because I would agree with that. But yeah, I think, yeah, let's just see if we can everybody can do some thinking and come to the table with something. And if you want, I think maybe the best way is if you do some thinking and you have some ideas, you can email Will and I, and we can kind of start rolling some things around so that it doesn't come, that folks are not working in parallel without knowing.
Do you know if Jake is still planning to come back and ask for additional?
In March?
Yeah.
Yeah, he is. So Jake is planning on asking for us to contribute more to Future Face. That's not something that we have really talked about, or I don't know if anyone's even interested in that. But it is something that will happen. If we were interested, it'd probably be an easy thing to do. But yeah. Any thoughts? Everybody ready to move on? All right. On to chair and vice chair elections. I only received one email nomination, and it was to keep everything the same. So, let's open it up to hear if anybody has any nominations here in person or thoughts about nominations.
With the one caveat that you have to be a regular member, correct, to serve as chair or vice chair?
Yeah.
Correct.
It's a lot of silence.
That was the one email.
Yeah. Yes, you are.
I'm assuming if we keep it as is, that your terms aren't going to
Mine, I think, would be
finish
up.
before.
I think mine would be up before the end of, well, no, I think it's next spring, so I probably could do one more year. I certainly wouldn't mind switching roles if that was something you'd be interested in, Will. If no one else is interested or nominated, I would love to have new folks on in the chair and vice chair, but if that's not the case, if nobody's interested, then I don't mind continuing, but I'm happy to switch.
Yeah, I'm happy to I'm happy to help in this capacity in the next year. I think from just having been on many other task force committees, whatever, it is a very healthy thing to continually have that churn of bringing someone new in. You have continuity. So the danger of a flip would be next year we don't have people because both of our term, we're on our third term.
Are you on your last term too?
I just got reappointed, but I'm on my last 2 years, so we're kind of at the end of the line and would need other folks to really step up in the next year. So,
Well, yeah, and I think that there are folks that are interested that are just not regular members yet. So I'm hoping that that'll be resolve itself. Any thoughts?
I think you all are doing a fine job.
Oh, thanks, Megan.
I second
We're
that.
trying. We're trying. Do we need to make a motion of sorts?
Yeah, I should have some kind of vote.
Okay. Does anyone want to make a motion for this vote that isn't Will or I, since it sounds like we're the ones that are involved?
Motion to renominate Adam and Will
Okay.
to the vice chair, chair positions.
Okay. Do you want to flip them or keep them?
Is there a preference on your
I think
end?
I think the preference is to have you be chair. If I don't want to put words in your mouth, but
at this moment in time, I'm willing to do that. A year from now, the danger would be, I don't know, at that point in time, whether I'd want to step into chair or not.
yeah.
So,
And we've gone through, we can't have co-chairs, right? We can't have, I don't think, you have to pick one or the other. So, I'm happy either way, Will, whatever you want. I don't know if I'm happy either way, but I'm willing to do either one.
I'm comfortable flip-flopping. So.
Okay, yeah.
So Will to chair and Adam to vice chair for 2024.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'd second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. All right, welcome,
All
Will.
right. You want me to take over from here?
Do you want to?
Sure.
All right, I'm done.
I think that comes with a healthy, as I alluded to, we'll definitely be looking for folks to self-identify a bit and then also find ways to kind of step in a bit over the next couple of months. You know, one thing I've shared with the team a little bit is at one point in time, our cycle has moved backwards in time during COVID and other things. So it used to be a little bit more aligned with Sir Walter Raleigh Awards. So I could foresee trying to, particularly since we're just re-upping to some degree, trying to get back to alignment on that, since that's kind of our seminal event. is a bit of a make sense moment of a handoff of having the next chair identified. That's certainly a way to then tap someone to do some of the speaking parts and other things,
Are you saying you want to move the election to the Sir Walter Raleigh Awards?
potentially.
Okay.
But we can cross that bridge as we get closer. If that sounds good.
Like before the Sir Walter Raleigh Awards or at the Sir Walter Raleigh Awards?
Probably the month before.
Month before. And then the announcements at the, or the new person comes out and speaks at the Sir Walter.
Something like that.
leads it.
Yeah.
That's it. Anybody have any thoughts about that? I don't care.
Seems like a natural kind of handover.
Yeah. Okay.
Casey, do you have any thoughts?
If that's what y'all feel you want to do, I think that's fine.
Sounds good.
There's nothing in the rules
Yeah.
that say when
Yeah.
it has to happen. It's up
Right.
to y'all.
And I think our appointment is technically for a year, but I think if we wanted to.
Are
step
you
down,
just
we're willing to.
immediately, as soon as you become chair, trying to shorten your chairship?
Might be. Okay, next up, annual retreat planning, and I bet you've got a prelude for this.
I have a very interesting slide for you.
Wow.
To
Really? No way.
have you all pick a date and a preferred location. So just keeping us organized with the
Okay,
slides.
I think let's do these in reverse order. On preferred location, very open to thoughts. Where we've done it the last several years has worked really well. I think that's a very easy fallback of, we can always use the wetland center again, assuming it's available on that date. There was a little bit of conversation around, do we potentially move around, which I like because we represent the whole city. It would be nice to move around to some different places just to geographically. So one of the thoughts would be Chavis, which I fully support if that could be our preferred location, and would welcome thoughts on that.
Sounds good.
Doesn't matter to me.
I don't think there's any difference in access or
Yeah, it's
facilities or
we know
you know,
it's
anything.
available.
I need a date to check to see when it's available, but yeah, if y'all pick a date, I can see if Chavis is available, and if not, obviously, if you want to have like a backup location that you'd prefer, whether it's the wetland center we used last year or
Yep.
somewhere else.
Let's go with Chavis as preferred, and then Wetland Center in the event we run into a problematic date. But I don't think we need a motion for that. Let's keep steaming ahead.
So a date would be in March?
So, Casey, what's your overall timeline for the year?
So I think last year it was like in the middle of March, like March 15th or something, like on a Wednesday evening, I want to say y'all did it. So just for the calendar in March, if I can open it up. The regular scheduled appearance commission meetings in March would be March 7th and 21st.
Do we have cases for March 7th?
We do not. So you could potentially choose to do it on one of the nights you'd have a regular scheduled meeting anyway, which I think is kind of natural. I will say one of the items coming up at the next appearance commission meeting, whenever that might be, whether it's February 15th or March 7th, is a presentation from Keegan on an upcoming text change that would impact the Appearance Commission. And so if you choose to do the annual retreat on March 7th, I think that's fine if that's what you would like to do. But we'd probably want to build in Keegan's presentation about that text change into the agenda for the annual retreat, because of the timing with when it goes to Planning Commission. We want to make sure that you guys are getting to see it before it gets too far along in the text change process.
That makes
So if
sense.
that makes sense.
To me. The last several years we've done these mid-month, but that's partly because we've had more of a QJ and just slate of projects in general. A month, doing the retreat in a month sounds pretty quick to schedule. So my inclination would be mid-March, and still hear Keegan at the QJ meeting in March, and then I think we had brainstormed potential other guest speakers, like maybe inviting Bynum Walter to talk about it from a comp planning side. Is there any amount of a window that the timeline's too short on retreat planning?
As long as we can decide on a date, and if we have a location, available, I don't think it makes too much of a difference. If you wanted to not do it on March 7th, and instead do it on March 21st, that would be the Thursday that y'all would usually meet anyway.
Could I just suggest that could we explore doing it March 7th, just so that we don't have to have two meetings and we could do it all in one? And if it doesn't work, we do it on another date? Just
I can
thinking of
look and see if
efficiency's
that's
sake,
available,
bringing
yeah.
everybody in here.
I mean, that should work for Keegan if that's, because we've already talked about whether he would come February 15th or March 7th. I don't think we'd want to push it out further than that for the tech change.
You talking in the microphone? It's okay.
Does anybody go to state construction
What is that?
conference? Because it's March 7th.
Yeah, I'm on the fence about attending this year because I need to make that decision soon.
Are you going?
I'll be at state construction.
Okay. Well, that's a reason not to do it.
What about when's spring break this year? Is that late March?
For who?
So for Lake County Schools, it's 22nd through it's the week of,
Oh, yeah.
sorry, 25th through
Yeah.
Okay.
29th.
All right. Just interpreting that, I'm like,
I'll be in Iceland.
I guess we need to, could we potentially look at another date in mid-March, splitting the difference there? I know we like our normal dates because we usually have them reserved, but last year we did it on Wednesday, and I think that worked fine.
Yeah? Yeah.
18th seems open to my end.
13th?
Wednesday, March 13th. That'd be between the
Yeah.
week between the two regular scheduled meetings.
I'm seeing nodding heads for the most part.
I'll be at the Main Street Conference, but I can maybe come home for it. It's just in Goldsboro, so I could maybe pop out and come back.
Do you want to keep your usual time, 4:30?
What about, is the 14th better for you?
It's the 12th through the 14th.
All right.
But I can just,
Sounds like we have a couple dates penciled. Maybe we go to those facilities and see if any of them fall
well, why
out.
don't we do the 14th, and then I'll just come back for the meeting. I'll just leave the conference and come back for I think it's over around then anyway, so. If everybody's good on the 14th. I think
14th look
we
okay
can
for
make it
folks?
work.
What time would that be?
In the afternoon, evening. It's like we have a dinner meal, so.
Yeah.
Okay. I have daytime stuff, but cool.
So seeing from the folks in the room that would work all right. So
Okay.
you get the
Plan for
date
the
for that?
evening of Thursday,
Yep.
March 14th, at Chavis, if they're available. If not, we'll look at the Wetland Center or some of the other park facilities.
Sounds fantastic.
Okay.
And can Keegan come to that one so we don't have to do the March 7th meeting?
Potentially. Yeah, I can ask him about that.
Okay.
Now, that's assuming if you don't have items you want to talk about at the February 15th meeting. That would be your next regularly scheduled meeting.
Right. I think part of the reason why I'm more inclined toward mid-March is we might cancel one of those meetings and then not have a meeting between now and then. So just to finalize things up as far as agenda. I don't see it as a bullet on this list, but from a topics of the retreat perspective, we do the normal review the past year type analysis. Probably have some guest speaker, Keegan, maybe another, and then is there anything else that rises to the top as far as the agenda?
The legacy
Annual plan,
projects.
legacy projects, or work plan.
Work plan, Bynum or someone from our comp planning team might make sense since the city's starting to kick off the comprehensive planning process.
Okay.
To do a new comprehensive plan, so it kind of might be a good time to hear about that. and
Sounds good.
See what's going on with that.
Do you, related to that, and there might be some worthwhile exercise or just session for us to do name change? Do you know timing of when that would occur?
So it is scheduled for consideration at the February 13th Planning Commission. So assuming it gets approved or recommended for approval, it would presumably go to council at one of council's next meetings after that.
Okay,
So
so it could be as soon as our first meeting of March.
Could be March, yeah.
And
That's
that would be
nice and
effective
clean, so-
immediately, probably?
Yeah, I guess unless they choose to
delay
You know,
it.
in the ordinance, they'll
Yeah.
say the effective date, so it'll either be immediately or if council picks something later.
So our annual retreat could be the first time we're named something different.
Could be.
Okay.
Rock and roll. What else, as far as retreat direction, you need at this point?
The date, time, and location was the main thing, and then it sounds like I got some feedback about what you guys would be interested in hearing about,
Do you still have the menu from Sassoul from last time? I feel like everybody liked that.
probably.
Do you
Yeah,
guys
if
like that?
have a
last
preference
time?
about where to get food from. I can send out an email, if anybody has dietary restrictions, we can make sure we have something that can accommodate everybody, so.
That's
But we
one
can do that
advantage
closer.
of Sassoul is they are able to accommodate.
Yeah. Yeah, there was some good, yeah. That, if you just repeat that, that's, I think 3 years in a row we've done that. And Sassoul is like half the price as Neomont for catering, so it's a good deal.
And try to order, well, hopefully we'll have a bigger turnout, but we had so much leftover food last year.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, it was pretty brutal.
I don't know that we need to order as much in any version of turnout, but
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. It was a lot.
I'll leave that to.
I feel like they gave us more than we ordered. And I guess we need to invite Stormy to that, even though,
Okay.
If you wouldn't mind, I guess, Will, since you're the
Sure.
chair now.
Yeah.
Reaching out to her.
Sounds good.
if anyone, so one thing, I just sent an email to Stormy today about a potential nomination for the Parents Commission. Martha and I are going to roll off within the next year, and I think it's pretty important that we have at least one, if not two or three landscape architects on the commission. So if anybody, this is like an all call, if anybody knows a landscape architect that is familiar with Raleigh development, certainly would be helpful to see if they're interested. If they are, feel free to send them my way. I know that Martha and I are probably the ones who know the landscape architects, but you never know. You all work with landscape architects too, so. Yep.
I did see, I believe, Councilmember Jones potentially is nominating two folks at the next council meeting.
I don't have any details on that to share.
So I believe we've got two alternates currently, vacancies.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Cool.
what's next?
Sir Walter Raleigh Award. So similar questions as the annual retreat. So it feels really early, but it's not. So there's a few things I want to talk about. One, I really would like to get a preferred date from you guys tonight so that I can build out the calendar of things and the timeline of things, because that is dependent on what date you'd look to do. Typically, again, the last couple years, it's been like one of the last Wednesdays in October, so it'd be October 23rd. I would suggest that we consider doing it a bit earlier, just because October starts getting into the holiday season, and I've heard from vendors that it's just a very busy season. So maybe trying to do it a little bit earlier gives a little distance from that like start of all of the holiday events. Also, I was looking at some professional conference dates to see what conflicts there might be and also other city events. So Planning Academy is planned for October 23rd, so that would be a conflict with that date. And there seem to be a lot of professional conferences happening in October. So I'm throwing out some other dates, and you're welcome to pick something else. These are just some kind of based on how we've done it in the past years, and also the Thursday dates are what would be your guys' usual second meeting of the month. So that's some food for thought. I'd love to hear what you guys think about it.
You mentioned Planning Academy being a conflict on the 23rd.
Yes.
I'm not as familiar with that. What's the potential overlap?
There is city staff it takes a lot of city staff to do the Planning Academy, and folks would like to help out and or attend Sir Walter and vice versa. And so it just spreads everybody a little bit thin. And it's some of the same audiences. I mean, there's nothing, we can still do it that day. It's just something to consider as far as potential conflicts.
What conferences did you find in October? I'm trying to figure out which ones.
Um,
The AI
wrote 'em down.
conference is in June.
ESLA is usually October, November, but.
yep, ASLA is October 6th through 9th.
Okay.
The Preservation North Carolina Conference is October 16th through 18th. And then the AP, the planning, the North Carolina, the State Planning Conference is usually in October as well.
Okay. Okay.
And since those groups are some of your primary targets for the
Totally.
awards,
Do you know where the planning conference is this year? Last year was in Durham, right?
I don't think they put out a location yet for this
Okay.
year. And I don't think they put out the specific dates, but it's usually October.
I generally tend to like the end of October from a timing perspective, but if other folks have already penciled in conflict dates, then
Yeah.
I think pulling it to September is a little tricky just based off of timeline from previous years of convening jury, award submission, et cetera. But
So I drafted a timeline to see if an earlier September date is possible, and it is. But we'd be getting into planning like next month. I mean, either way, we got to start planning. So either way, it's possible.
I don't attribute this to be the singular reason why nominations for award submissions can be slow, but the fact that it occurs over the middle stretch of summer doesn't help, I don't think, we tend to, get submissions as close to the end of the deadline as possible, so.
Yes, the plan is to have that happen sooner this year. So like May, June, and not June, July. And by that, I mean the artists and nominations.
Why?
For some of the reasons that Will just mentioned, and then something I was going to talk about after the date conversation, but I can share it now. I don't think I've mentioned this in passing, but one thing that I wanted to propose to you all, if you were interested in, we don't have to do this, but at the state planning conference last year, during one of the sessions, they do the state planning awards, and it was kind of neat. They had each winning project or team or what have you, like a little 1 or 2 minute video about the awards, and we all thought that was really cool. And I was like, well, that might be something we want to consider doing for the Sir Walter Raleigh Award. So have a little video highlighting each of the winning projects. But that requires additional time before the event. So you have to know who the winners are sooner so that there's time to produce those and edit
Who would
them.
produce the video?
We could potentially ask RTN to do it. Or we have some communication staff who has some interest in doing that type of work. So none of that's said, and we haven't figured that out yet because we haven't even talked about it. You guys haven't talked about it as a commission. But just throwing that out there for something you guys to consider.
It would make an awesome program. I do recall during COVID when we did the fully virtual Sir Walter Raleigh Awards that was definitely a pain point of all of that video production that was necessary. Corey got on his bike and went all over to film different segments, which was awesome, but it was a lift on his part.
It would probably definitely be a team effort, but it seemed like a really neat idea. So
Yeah, I think it'd be good.
don't have
It'd
to
be
do it,
great.
but
I love the idea.
if you like the idea, that was part of why the winners need to be selected sooner so that there's time to make that happen
Yeah.
in time for the event.
Or I'm only just sensitive to the fact that I think people have in their mind generally when they are going to need to think about Sir Walter applications. And I hate to ambush them with a 2-month shorter window, but maybe that's not an issue. I don't know. Does anybody have any feelings about that? Would it matter if we did it 2 months earlier? Ask people to put nominations 2 months earlier?
I think if it was broadcast in
Well.
a timely fashion, I know a lot of places have kind of a rolling BD calendar, and that's kind of set,
Yeah.
and they're expecting it around that time. So to shuffle up their workloads, just giving them as much advance notice as we can.
Yeah.
On that note, I would love to do a save the date this year if we're going to go ahead and set the dates for stuff like awards and
Yeah.
the actual date of the Sir Walter. One advantage of September would be that we would close the finances sooner and would have less of a time crunch on legacy, but that's not a huge factor.
Yep, I think as long as we get the word out that it's not the same as normal, and I think it's probably fine.
Do you have a preference, Casey, or does staff have a preference?
When I talked amongst staff about like this idea, there was definitely openness to moving it to September because October just is a really busy month.
Okay. I think September is also a busy month.
It's always a busy month. There's just a lot of stuff that's in particular that hits in October. So,
Yeah.
but we can make any of them happen, right? But that's why we're having the conversation to see what you guys would prefer to do.
I don't want to not close out date, but from a location perspective, is that also a factor with, availability of dates?
Yeah, I haven't reached out to anybody yet about what their availability is, but
Last year, did we have to move our original date
I don't
because
think
of
so.
Union Station's availability? Okay.
I don't think so.
Well, in terms of the location, I think I certainly love our location, and I think having it in the same place every year is, as long as we like it, is rock solid idea. Anybody have any thoughts?
I enjoyed the location. I think it's great.
Yep.
And we had the Al Strong, whatever it ends up being this year, so that would put on the docket the no, I'm blanking on
Wolf, yeah.
the other one.
Yes.
That's right.
Peter Wolf.
Yes, Peter Wolf.
Peter Lamb and the Wolves.
Peter Lamb, yeah.
Peter Lamb and the Wolves. They're awesome. If anybody has any other ideas, feel free to send them our way. But I think we'd probably just set that one up if no one had any other ideas.
Okay, so I'm hearing Union Station is definitely the strong preference of location. Since it's worked so well, we've had a lot of consistency behind it, and barring a lack of availability,
Okay.
easy to move forward with that. And then as far as date goes, my probably top one would be October 17th if we're going to pull it from the 23rd to avoid Planning Academy. But what do you guys think from a...
Could we pick two of the dates and then see what have both of those available in terms of seeing if Union Station's available on either of those dates?
Yeah. I'd want to know which one is your first choice
Yeah,
and your
first
second
and a second.
choice.
Wasn't there another conference on the 17th during that span?
There is the preservation conference on the 16th through the 18th.
Well, it is one of our categories, so it might
Yeah. And I
Drop
think
a couple people.
there is I think they anticipate having a landmark plaque to present this year if you're going to
Oh.
partner with the RHDC again.
Okay, so I think that's a reason not to do it on the 17th. What about the 19th and the 25th of September? Sorry, Will, I'm not doing a good
No,
job
do
at
your
giving you the
thing.
chairship here.
I don't have a strong preference between the two. Probably the 25th, just on timeline. But what do you guys?
I would
anyone-
recommend keep it as late as possible
Yeah.
and go with the 25th. I mean, just
And then in number two potentially would be the 19th or the October 23rd of keeping it.
Yeah,
Yeah, September dates.
You think
I
September
would hate
dates?
for it to coincide with the planning thing on October 23rd.
It has the last 2 years.
As in-
We did look at the dates to see if we could make it so they don't fall. And there's not much room to switch stuff around with the Planning Academy.
Well, if you guys are
So,
used to it.
I mean,
then-
if it is, it is. But just something to consider, so.
But what about, Wednesday, October 23rd, but what about like the 24th?
Any other date is fair game. picked some for you to start with. If you want to propose a completely different date, I think that's fine too.
I think Thursday works too. I would avoid Fridays and Mondays and Tuesdays, but I think Wednesdays and Thursdays are good days.
And every other day of the week.
Well, you know, I feel like Wednesday and Thursday is pretty good.
Yeah, no, I'm good with that. So number one, 25th of September, and then number two, if you could see about October 24th. How does that sound for folks? That would be Thursday, October 24th.
Yeah. I might even say, well, yeah, no, yeah, that's good.
You want to flip the two and say one?
Well, if somebody went to the planning conference, they're probably out for the 24th too, right?
Depends on where it is.
Yeah. Where is it?
I don't think they've announced yet.
Is it the North Carolina Planning Conference?
Yeah.
Justin
Yeah,
does,
I
so it's
looked,
probably not
I guess
local.
I looked last week or so. So unless they've put it out there since then.
Okay.
So the first choice would be September 25th and the second choice would be October 24th. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I'd say that's the tentative one
Okay.
and two.
We'll see if they're available. But one good thing about making this decision now, more likelihood that they'll be available, so.
Wait, so we don't know what the date is for the North Carolina Planning Conference?
No, when I checked like a week ago or a few days ago, they hadn't posted it online yet.
And last
It's
year-
usually in
last
like
year it was-
early to mid-October.
Okay, yeah, last year it was October 11th through the 13th.
Yeah.
So the 23rd could work
It's the Planning Academy that's the conflict.
Yeah.
on the
One's right
23rd.
there, Yep.
Okay.
You can still do it that. I'm not saying you can't choose that date. It's just
We
something to
may,
consider.
we may yet go back to the 23rd, but. All right, do you clear on date for now?
Yes.
And then the last piece here is committee. So for the new folks, our typical structure here is that we have a group of typically 3 to 4 folks who help with the programmatic side of producing the event with the decisions that need to be made there from,
Jury selection.
yeah, well, and then, that's right. There's
Planning the program.
jury selection, and then we also
vendors.
ask members of the Appearance Commission to be on the jury as well, so those typically don't overlap. So just a heads up that we will, in a future meeting, potentially be asking folks to sign up for one or the either. Those are kind of the two biggest opportunities to be involved other than showing up to meetings. So it's super helpful, for the folks that have done the jury before, it's a time commitment, but it's also rewarding experience too. And that's worked really well. We have guest jurors join as well as folks from other boards and commissions. So that's worked really well over the years. And then on the programming side, like I said, there's just like some details that will crop up in actually executing the event and decisions to make that just help make the lift lighter and give staff some feedback mechanism as well to make decisions. So would you like to go ahead and start asking for folks to step up for committee?
Yeah, well, first I wanted to kind of talk, you touched on it, like what sort of schedule and structure for the committee. I would, with the attempt to try to have just the QJ meeting each month and then try to cancel the second meeting each month if there isn't anything on the agenda. That second meeting a month might be a natural spot to have the committee meetings for Sir Walter on that date. And if obviously the commission has regular business to do, it could be combined or just do one right after the other. But just some way to, because it is business of the commission, it has to be an open meeting.
Yeah.
So just that to consider too, as far as like commitment from the committee members. Not that we'd have to meet every month, but it probably would be most months between now and September or October, whenever the event is.
Yeah. Just by show of hands real fast, who's served on jury before? And who's been on programming? I know you were on programming one year with me. I think.
Yeah, Megan, you were.
Yeah.
You spoke that one year.
Oh, I did.
Yeah, and that's another way that every year is a little bit different, but folks that are on kind of the programming aspect typically also help at the event to help introduce awards or introduce segments. You name it. If video is going to be something that we try and tackle this year, that would be something that would be helpful, and just help advance things between meetings for the commission, so we can keep moving forward. Question for you on that. Instead of the second meeting of the month, this probably becomes an issue with advertisement, but is there the ability to, like, if we had one QJ case, it could be a fast meeting, would we have the ability to just tack on committee meeting?
I think
and
that's
those that-
fine. I mean, as long as the appearance commission meeting is noticed, you're just gonna,
But doesn't
continue this.
the subcommittee have to be noticed as well?
I can ask Catherine to make sure we're
I think it might.
meeting the specific requirements, but yes, having it on a night that you would usually meet anyway is easier because we already have the mechanisms in place to easily do that, but we can do it at a different time if that works better for
Yeah.
the people on the committee.
The rules are not more than 2 commissioners communicating, right?
Conducting business, yeah.
Conducting business. Yeah. Well, certainly, I think let's send out an email polling the whole commission to see if we can get interest in this Sir Walter committees or jury so that the folks who aren't here know about it.
Yes, and if there's,
I mean, I'll just go ahead and say, being one of the newer members here, I'm eager to get involved and learn, see how these things happen. So I'm gonna
Jason, really appreciated
typically
you
step up.
stepping up last year to help with the program. So if you're willing now, I would love to go ahead and, if you would like to chair that subcommittee, that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Awesome. Anyone else at this point in time want to step up?
I did a jury.
You jury? Excellent.
Trying to figure
All
out
right.
which item I want to do, or items.
Yeah, you can think about it and email, but we'll definitely be bringing it back up at the next meeting when that occurs to, fill that out. But would love everyone to think about if there's one committee over the other that you could potentially participate in. It would be a nice way to spread the load if everyone was a part of one or the other, just from a, everyone contributing together and peer pressure aspect as well. Cool. Casey, anything else on the docket?
No, not about Sir Walter Raleigh.
Okay.
I got the dates, preferred location, got to start on the committee and the jury, so yeah, I think we're good for right now.
Okay, so that's the end of our normal agenda. And then our next meeting date would be mid-February. Do we have anything on the agenda for that as of yet?
Potentially Keegan's presentation on the streetscape and signage text change.
Okay.
That could potentially be pushed to March 7th if you have a preference. We don't have any, we should not have any design alternate cases for the March 7th agenda.
Is it possible? Can you ask Keegan if he can just do March 7th? If he can do the March 7th, then I would say let's cancel the mid-February meeting. But do want to prioritize him doing that presentation. I think that's
Yeah, it'll be
important.
very, I think it'll be a good thing for everybody to participate in because it will it'll impact the work that you guys do. So
Yeah.
it'll be good to have a
I
good
think
participation.
that's a good reason for it to be at the annual retreat, because everybody can say, all right, not only do I need to be at the annual retreat for all the normal reasons, but also this thing with Keegan.
And then telegraphing ahead, if we're doing retreat mid-February, mid-March, we'll cancel the second March meeting, just so people can plan ahead on that.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so I have March 7th will probably be the text change presentation and an update from Jake about the legacy project. And then March 14th would be the annual retreat. And then the March 21st meeting canceled, the February 15th meeting canceled.
you okay with that? I know you're thinking Keegan for the retreat.
I was, but I was thinking we could do that all in one meeting, honestly. But I don't want to.
Yeah, I want to be sensitive that no single meeting gets to be too long. And if you guys would like me to see if Keegan can do it at the retreat date. I don't know if he's available that date, and I don't know if that pushes it too far out with the
Let's-
timing, so.
Let's go with him on the agenda for the 7th, and we've got a rain date if needed. And then we need to get moving on other legacy project potential ideas. So that's your action item leaving today, and I'll follow up via email of particularly concepts of like Appearance Commission can contribute funds to help make this more meaningful, but it's already something that's in the works. Would love ideas on, what was the number, 13,000? So we could potentially contribute at all, like we did for some of the studies we've previously helped, or could split it up into multiple projects. But whatever is highest and best there.
I do have one other miscellaneous item. The environmental awards, that's not the name of the commission. The environmental, I'm forgetting the name of the board. The
PIB.
Environmental Advisory Board.
Yeah.
They reached out to see if someone from the Appearance Commission would like to serve on the jury for the environmental awards. And the jury is scheduled to meet on March 14th, which conflicts with the annual retreat that we just picked. So, from 4 to 6 p.m.
Okay, well then,
So
I
we
think the
either
answer
have
is
to
no
have
if
that
we're moving to
conversation
retreat.
about.
Yep. I think we stick to our guns on retreat.
Okay.
Sorry.
Unless somebody wants to divide and conquer, but yeah.
Okay. And I did just, you mentioned it, the RHTC collaboration there on the plaque presentation for Sir Walter, thought that worked well, as did the A-frame or the easel boards. That was really awesome last year, that people could kind of walk around and look at. So I would love to do things like that again. All right, seeing nothing else, does anyone have any new business or anything else they want to bring up? All right, we're adjourned. Thank you.